Hi, Holly Mecker here with Instructional Tech. We are talking today about Jamf Teacher. Jamf Teacher is a program that we have to help manage our iPads in the classroom. Jamf Teacher not only allows you to lock students into a specific app or a multitude of apps, but it also allows you to limit student access on Safari. While not all students really need this level of management, it's very helpful for students who either get easily distracted on their iPads or maybe just need a simplified interface to ensure they're able to be successful. Let's jump into Jamf Teacher and I can show you more. So here I have both my teacher and my student iPad. To open Jamf Teacher, you're going to find the app installed in self-service. It looks like this maroon app with a teacher and a whiteboard. I'm going to go ahead and open that now. Here on your Jamf Teacher homepage, you should have all of your classes. I'm going to go ahead and open up the class that I'm working with simply by tapping on my managed class. From this page, you can see all of your students. As I scroll through, you'll see I have all of my students listed, and then I also have some options on the right. There's a few different options that we're going to look at. The first option let's look at is the app lock. I'm going to go ahead and tap app lock. What app lock allows me to do is lock my students in to either a certain app or a list of apps that I want my students to be using. During this lesson, let's imagine that maybe I want my students to have access to a few different apps. I want them to have options to open up Epic or Sora in order to get to their book that they're currently reading. I also want Seesaw as an option because they're going to be doing a reflection on Seesaw. And then I want clips as an option in case I want my students to have the option to create their reflection in clips. So right now I have 4 different apps available for them. And then I'm going to set my timer of how long we're going to be working on this project when I want this restriction to automatically clear. I'm going to go ahead and select 30 minutes. And then I'll apply. Notice as I push apply, watch what happens to my iPad screen. Now available on my student iPad are only the apps that I chose for my students to be able to access. As I scroll through, I've got my 2 reading apps, my 2 creation apps, and if I go to our app library, again, we are only seeing the settings and then those apps that I have selected for my students. On my teacher iPad, I'm going to go ahead and push clear restrictions. And notice all of my student apps are now back on their iPad. I also want to go ahead and show you a lesson. Lessons are ways that you can use the web lock in intentional practices. So on my teacher iPad, I'm going to head over to lessons. And you'll see I have a few different lessons started. One lesson that I have already started is an IXL lesson. Let me go ahead and open that lesson up so you can see what that looks like. So when I allow my students to use IXL, I only want them on Safari. So I included only for the allowed apps, I only allowed them on Safari. I also created a list of links that my students can access. They can access IXL, because that's where I want them to be working, but also Clever or Google Login. And the reason I included those is because I want my students to be able to log into Google so I'm able to track what they're doing on IXL. If you do not include either google.com or accounts.google.com, students will not be able to log into their accounts. So it's important that we include those in our lesson. If I scroll down, there's a few other options. I also have them locked into Safari and locked into those websites. So my students will not be able to exit Safari or exit those websites to access any other content on Safari. The other options down here do not matter so much because a lot of this our students already do not have access to. So you could turn off games and entertainment, shopping, music, communication. It really won't impact your students because they already do not have access to those things. The only other one you're going to want to notice is if you want to have spell check or autocorrect turned off. So if our students are working on a writing project where I want them to practice their intentional spelling and writing, I maybe want to turn that option off. For IXL, it doesn't matter all that much. I'm going to go ahead and push save in the corner. And then let's go ahead and run that lesson for my students so that you can see what that looks like on the iPad. I'm going to tap IXL. I'm going to set how much time. Again, let's set it for 30 minutes. I'm going to push my class that I'm going to use it with and push start. Watch my student iPad screen as I start this lesson. Notice my student is already prompted to be in IXL. If I try to leave iExcel, if I push the plus button and I try to go somewhere like Google, it does not allow me there. Notice when I push the plus button, I have the 3 websites that I've included that they are allowed to use. So my students have easy access to log into Clever or into iExcel. I'm going to go ahead and end this lesson. To do that, I'm going to go back to my home page and just push clear restrictions and clear. And again, my students have access to their entire iPad again. If your students join you and they already have restrictions on their iPad from a previous teacher, or maybe from a parent, because there is a parent partner app, you can always clear those restrictions for your students simply using the clear restrictions button. The last feature I'd like to show you is how you can group your students. Like I said at the beginning, this may not be necessary for all of your students, but we all have those few students that get a little more easily distracted or just need that simplified interface. So I could create a group here at the bottom of my student list for those students. Maybe this is the blue group. I could select the students I want included and push create. Now under my class, I have 2 different groups. I have the blue group that I've just created and the extra help group that I created earlier. If I tap the blue group, I can now start a lesson just for those students. So if we were all on iExcel and these are the students that need a little bit of extra support today, I could start the lesson for them to make sure that they're able to be successful. So I hope you found that helpful as a way to better manage the iPads in your classroom. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments below. Like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time.